Good day, lesson 7. We're ready. If you've got your syllabus, which you should have, it's on the website. It's God cut covenant with himself. This may be a tough one to grasp, but you have to grasp it. This is the key covenant to the whole of the scriptures. And we're going to start, and Jerry's going to take us away.
So we're right in the middle of page 7, where it says God cut covenant with himself. The next evidence we see in Genesis 15. God appeared to Abraham in a vision and showed him how that through him the seed would come that would bless all nations of the world. Abraham understood covenant and that the promises made during the cutting of the covenant were irrevocable. In Genesis 15:8 we read, "And he said unto the Lord, whereby shall I know that I shall inherit it?" In common vernacular, how do I know I can trust you, right? Mm. And God's reply was, "We're going to cut covenant." and Abraham knew that if you cut covenant with somebody, those promises made and the discussion made and the terms of that covenant, once they were established, could never be broken.
Right.
In fact, the onus was on all the tribes, on every member of the tribe. If somebody broke covenant, the onus was on them to kill them.
Right.
That's how serious covenant is, and they understood that, and Abraham especially understood that. Mm-hmm. And he said unto him, God said unto Abraham, "Take an heifer of 3 years old, and a she-goat of 3 years old, and a ram of 3 years old, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon." And he took unto him all these, and divided them in the midst, and laid each piece one against another, but the birds divided he not. And when the fowls of the air came down upon the carcasses, Abram drove them away. And when the sun was going down, a deep horror fell upon Abram, and lo, an horror of great darkness fell upon him. And he said unto Abram, "Know of a surety that thy seed shall be a stranger in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. And also that nation whom they shall serve will I judge, and afterward they shall come out with a great substance." I just wanted to mention too that, this cutting, taking a heifer and cutting it down the middle and, parting it and walking up and down in the blood, everything that's done in covenant is done to affect your mind and your memory so you never forget. I mean, Abraham never ever forgot, the smell of half digested hay and blood and all of that. I mean, it was a mess, but it was done so that it would. Should I go on?
So it affects your senses, and really what we say, like, don't you remember, like, when you're young and you have you had a smell, let's say in your house, or bread cooking or something, and the memory is connected to that small.
Yeah.
So God understands this more than we understand, that scent. Look, what we sense, all our senses, he wants them all in. Everything about, Abraham, he wanted them all in. He's like, you're going to smell the blood, you're going to smell this, and it's going to be your memory forever, really, is what it happens, doesn't it? It connects our minds.
It's the blood.
Yeah.
It's the blood. Yeah. Like, I remember when we were at Sylvan Lake and the kids were playing around those paddle boats, mm-hmm. and one of them cut her foot on the propeller.
Yeah.
And she was, oh. But they kept on going, right? But when she got out of the water and saw that cut, I mean, the whole atmosphere changed. There's blood.
Right.
Because blood has a way of really impacting all of our emotions, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Totally. See, my mom said when we're sick, if you're not bleeding, go to school.
Right,
so,
yeah.
So there's
blood has to be shown to skip out on school.
So there's the dividing line.
Yeah.
The other thing about the awakening of senses is that Abraham cut the animals in half. Mm-hmm. So he was in he was the process of setting up for God what God wanted to show him. So he has that memory. His physical body is in place. Right. Now he sees it with his eyes. He walks through the blood. He smells it. I mean, the total being is
immersed, really,
immersed
isn't it?
in the experience, right?
Yeah.
And so, so you never forget that stuff, right?
No.
You just
No.
inevitably or indelibly put into your mind, right?
Right.
But you can see why we civilized away that and got down to here, just sign here.
That's right.
It's a whole lot easier to,
That's
and the
right.
cattle rejoice.
Sign on. The cattle.
I'll tell you, the
really
heifers are
rejoice,
really happy about that.
Okay, and then and it says, and thou shalt go to thy fathers in peace. Thou shalt be buried in a good old age, but in the fourth generation they shall come hither, for the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full. Which is,
And just finish that.
always kind of
And it
bothered
came
me.
to pass that when the sun went down and it was dark, behold, the smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed between these pieces, okay? Now, go ahead, because I know what he's gonna say.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, it always bugged me that God, he just cut covenant with Abraham, and he says, and your people are going to be in prison for 400 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
But it does say,
tells you why.
because the Amorite, the iniquity of the Amorites is not yet full,
Right.
and so. And I guess I tied what it says in Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20 about all of the things that were going on in the land. He said, that don't uncover your father's nakedness, don't sleep with your mom, don't have intercourse with your brother's wife, and for 2 chapters it just goes on and on and on, and then it says, for all of these things do the nations perform.
Right. Exactly.
And
He
so-
was setting them apart and teaching them the better way, the righteous way to live on the earth.
And not only that, the Israelites had moved into Egypt and were following the covenant, were operating in the tabernacle and sacrifices and doing not yet. They would eventually, but they were serving God, and they knew all the ordinances, and they kept all that. And
Well,
here they were,
not at this point, though.
Well, not exactly,
Okay,
but we know that they were set apart.
They carried the covenant.
They carried the seed.
into
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
The other
And so
thing.
he's showing Abraham the future
Yeah.
Well, that's
with
what
this covenant, right? He's like, and you now will know the future that you will never see.
Yeah.
Abraham isn't alive at this time, right?
What the,
When
well,
the
not right.
When the 400 years,
No,
he
no,
wasn't
no.
around for
No,
that.
no.
So he
Okay.
literally, he was
He was seeing.
receiving a prophecy
Yeah.
of
Well,
the future.
Yeah, and here's the thing I like about this is that faith will show you not only today,
right.
but it'll show you tomorrow and the end result. Right. So faith has a 3-part being, if you will, right? To do that. I want to talk about the Amorites and what happens here. When Canaanites or Amorites were at their iniquity was full, when all of the stuff that they had done had
Okay, hold on, go back. Iniquity was full. What in the world does that mean?
Well, I'll tell you if you give me a chance. Because
Okay,
that's where
I thought we were going by
that's
the iniquity
no,
full thing.
We're not going by iniquity, we're bringing iniquity.
Were you wondering too? Because I was
Okay.
wondering. Iniquity is full.
Iniquity
Okay, I
is
apologize.
the interpretation of iniquity is the things done to each other.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
So sin against each other.
Sin against each
Okay,
other, man
iniquity.
against man against
Okay.
boy, So here they are, they're acting out these wicked things. I mean, they're sacrificing their own children, they're having sex with animals, they're all that stuff. But here's the deal. Until that is full, there's still a fight. When your iniquities
Mhm.
are full,
Mhm.
you lose the authority to fight. The more that we act out in evil, the less power we have to fight. And so when it's full, God takes the advantage of here's the whole nation. They're worn out.
Right.
Like sin wears you out, is what he's saying. Like sin
Okay.
wears you out. It troubles your mind. It troubles your heart. Your body starts rebelling against you. Lots of people's sickness and disease is because their insides are condemning them.
Right.
They're saying
And their body's given up. It's like, I can't do
and
this
everything in
anymore.
your mind.
Yeah.
You're not able to think. You're not able to reason. You're not able to plan. Right. That's what it means to be full.
Mm.
That's what that means. Everything starts to, and they just kind of, they're just act, it's kind of almost like a zombie state when you get to that state, right? It's the fullness of all that stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. So then the next thing is this.
Just one more thing,
Okay.
because I was referring to Leviticus 18 and Leviticus 20, where it lists all of the iniquity of the inhabitants of the land.
Yeah.
And in 1825, it says that even the land was defiled, and the land itself vomiteth out her inhabitants. The
Wow.
land.
Take that out of King James and put it into real life.
So what it's saying is that it affects even the
Soil,
the
the
land.
product, the produce.
Yeah, exactly. And so it wasn't,
Right.
it wasn't just, that they'd gone the wrong way. I mean, the pollution was so bad that the ground was going to throw them up.
Well, and that's true. Like the ground was formed and made by God, the God of love, and here you are living in the hatred of how we pick on one another. The
And the
things,
spilled blood, like
Yeah.
even all
the
that
innocent
stuff.
blood and
Right,
that, and
yeah.
I mean, just and the ground just rebels against it.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not function. I can't function under this.
Right.
So if you're a farmer, go out there and bless your farm.
Yeah, that's right.
It
Amen. That's
produces
true, though. It does.
produces better
Yes.
under the blessing of God than any other way, because God
Right.
formed it to be actually function in love.
Right,
And
and you
so-
can do that to any part of
Yeah.
land, of your land, like,
Yeah.
right? Your
Anything, yeah,
things that
everything.
you own, that your businesses,
Yeah.
that's your land. That's
Yeah.
in the
Bless them with the
marketplace
love
and
of
in the
God.
field, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
good.
it's really good.
Okay, so then it came to pass
Yeah,
at the end of that the sun went down and it was dark, and behold, smoking furnace and a burning lamp passed through these pieces. So what do we see? We see the promise of the Father,
Mhm.
then we see the sacrifice of the Son,
Mhm.
and then we see the Holy Spirit passing through it. It's the same word in Hebrew as it is for the Ark of the Covenant, the glory of God over the Ark of the Covenant.
Mm.
This is the same word, right? So God kept covenant himself. All three parts of God are now making covenant with man, Abraham. Abraham did not pass through those pieces. So he was not a part of the covenant,
He didn't walk through the middle.
No.
The fire walked through the middle, which
Yeah.
is Holy Spirit. Yeah.
right? Yeah, but okay, so the man, Abraham, sat here and witnessed
Right,
God cut covenant with himself, but was not a part of cutting that covenant,
right,
because then it would be God cut covenant with Abraham.
right.
But no, God got covenant with himself, right? So that's a good place to stop,
Mhm.
okay? And we'll see you next week, because we're going to show you in the New Testament also how God got covenant with himself.
Blessings to you. God bless you.
See you next week.